Welcome to Am Games Podcast. We have a guest this week, but first, my name is Mike.
And I'm Kurt.
And I'm Jane.
And joining us this week is Chris. He's been mentioned before. We brought him up. He's one of our buddies here, and he's going to talk about some hobbying stuff today.
Oh, God, you've mentioned me before?
Maybe.
It's mostly good things.
Oh, it's never good.
Mostly.
It's never good things. But yes, hello, Chris. Hi. I am Chris, and I am a What I Am game.
So, Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do as a person?
I don't know. Besides the fun of tabletop gaming is just I'm a teacher at a local elementary school, and I live on a farm and harangue goats for my day-to-day, which is always fun when they, eat their doors down.
Well, at least they're not eating your minis.
They've tried, actually.
I was about to say, from what I know of goats, they would.
I wanted to see what would happen if I held up like a Space Wolves champion. I just finished painting to it. I was like, "Oh, what do you think, Mr. Goat?" And it tried to take a bite of his sword. So I realized it will eat everything and anything put in front of its face. So,
Food is for me.
Is now.
Aside from painting goats, what's your hobby history like?
So I've been I've been playing Magic the Gathering I got into tabletop through Magic. Otherwise, I'm an avid video gamer, going back forever, having been like a video game journalist back in the way years ago. But now it's just mostly trying to come to peace with the current day and age we live in through the joy of tabletop and spending untold amounts of money on plastic figures and cardboard Magic cards. It brings me peace somehow.
So with the miniature side of everything, you started about a year ago, right? With COVID?
Yeah. It's funny because the first lieutenant I bought, the Primaris lieutenant that Kurt told me not to buy. He told me to spend my money on cheaper $5 models to get good at painting first. And then I was like, no, that's dumb. I'm going to be great at this. And then immediately melted this poor Primaris lieutenant with paint onto it. So that came up in my camera roll. I was like, look at that. He's melting.
The way his face melted, it kind of looks like one of those old Gundam action figures. Like it's such a blank face.
Yeah. Well, it's nice because it really captures how well the helmet just seamlessly melted into the chin and collar of the armor. So it's just one big mound with I thought it was clever by giving him a big red eye. So I was like, I am painter now. And it looks real bad, but I'm really happy with him. And I keep him next to my desk and I stare at him while I'm sitting doing stuff on my computer.
So like anybody in our Discord group could say, you've made a lot of progress on your painting. What would you say would be the biggest help, and what would you offer as advice to anybody who's starting to get into it?
Thin your paints. Learning that's actually a thing to do. Because besides listening to you yell at me to thin my paints and use a wet palette, I have bookmarked the 1D4chan article and that is just thin your paints, and just all the Duncan Road videos of him. It's a compilation of him just saying thin your paints over and over again, smash cut together. So yeah, it took a while for that to indoctrinate me to actually using water, because it's a cursed substance and no person should ever touch it. So.
I mean, it does no longer exist on Holy Terra, so...
that's why my water is as clear as anything, so... It's literally opaque, it's beautiful, and I drink it every day, so... Straight from the tap.
I'm concerned.
It's minerals, it's good for you. That's what my doctor said.
They're minerals, boy.
They're called heavy minerals, but they're minerals.
Is he a real doctor, or...
It's the same doctor that told me smoking cigarettes is good for your health, because it was that way in 1950, so it might as well be the same way in 2021.
Yeah, that makes sense. Science never advances.
I have great lung capacity, so it hasn't affected me negatively in any way. So,
yeah, your fake coughing is now making you actually have
I say that and then I'll like rip my nicotine sticks. So.
Maybe you should stop selling death sticks and go home and rethink your life choices.
Shut up, Obi-Wan.
Maybe I should stop selling death sticks.
You're not my real dad, Obi-Wan. I'm in the club to have fun and sell death sticks.
Can you just say I have a huge man crush on Ewan McGregor?
Oh, God. All right, so the new podcast topic, because I'm on, is how great Ewan McGregor is.
New podcast topic, Ewan McGregor.
Because I just watched Black Hawk Down, and he was in it. I forgot he was in it.
I forgot he was in there.
Yeah, it's his first acting role, so... Jane, now your turn to say something nice about Ewan McGregor, who is definitely listening to this.
When did Black Hawk Down come out?
99.
I couldn't possibly say anything bad about Ewan McGregor.
It's Tom Hardy's.
Like, I have never heard a single bad thing about him. He just seems like a great guy. I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan. Yeah. You know, and if I ever were to meet him in person, the first thing I would say would be, "Hello there." And I don't know if he would pick it up, but I sure hope he would.
So we've really gone off topic.
You're a bold one. Oh, yeah. What did you expect from bringing me on?
Okay. All right, so now that we've introed you, Chris, let's talk about what we've been up to this past week, and we'll start with you, Chris, just because you'll keep your own little thing going. What have you been painting this week and putting together?
So I just finished up I play Imperial Guard. I'm making a detachment of Cadians. So I just finished up a heavy weapons team of 3 mortars that I finally based and finished. I've had it sitting on my desk for like a bit. And then a spell ago, I forget what they're called. They're the blind buy boxes of Space Marines that GW has been putting out, that they're like a fourth of the price for like a figure of that quality, but they're blind buy. I got one of the Series 3, which are all Death Watch, the Plague Marines.
Death Guard.
Death Guard, thank you. So I've been thinking about like painting that and trying to figure out how I'm going to do it. And I just decided to sit down and do it over the past few days. And I'm really happy it turned out, especially with all the fleshy, gooey bits. I had to like mix a bunch of colors together to like get like that sickly, fleshy, spouting look. So yeah, that's been what I'm painting.
So I would recommend there's a wash. It's like the Cryptek Armor Shade or something like that. And it's it does something similar to what Sandy did with his. Sandy in our chat, he just did a bunch of Plague Marines. Nurgle is king. He did this oil wash to them, and it makes them look really grimy and nasty. And I think you get something similar with that Cryptek Armor Shade, because I picked that up, and that seems to be what it's used for, is to make things just kind of like grimy a little bit. Yeah, because it's got a glossy kind of finish to it, so that might look cool. I could put some in a little bottle for you, and you can take it.
No, I mean, I have a list of things I need to do next time I go stop at the local hobby shop, so I will use it.
Okay. Let's go to Kurt. What have you been up to this past week?
I haven't been doing much in the way of fun painting. I've been doing production painting for a model railroad company. So most of what I paint is O-scale figures. Right now I'm doing a mill worker walking is what it's called. It's just a regular guy in a vest with a floppy Irish hat on and a big mustache. So I have to paint like 90 of them, all exactly identical. So it's just monotonous work, but it's money on the side. On the other side of things, though, I mentioned in the previous posts or previous podcast, that I've been working on a new novel, and I took a break from that this past week because I'm trading chapters with another writer, where each week we write for the week and then trade what we wrote for that week and go back and forth. But he had to travel for his child's graduation. So I started writing query letters and hunting for an agent. So that's what I spent all of last week on, query letters, agents, and painting production minis for a model railroad company.
Imperial agents?
No, like literary agents for me to sell my novel.
I know. Like agents of the Imperium. We'll put them in an HQ slot.
Imperial literary agents?
I have actually tried to work for Black Library. I tried to work for Black Library as an editor and didn't get very far, but that was also before I went to college and a long time ago.
I bet Black Library has a bit of a desire for you to be British to really work for them, because I think all their writers are from England. Like, it's all there.
No, I think some are
For
Canadian.
the most part, not
Well,
all.
maybe Canadian. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you got to be
Yeah.
part of the Commonwealth.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Well, under the Queen's rule still.
Yeah, no, their job openings do not specify UK only. So
Oh, okay.
I have
but-
talked with them before.
Admittedly, though, when you do when you do go to interview with them, though, they will ask you a bunch of stuff like what does a cuppa mean and other like British terminology, and if they get it wrong, they
Oh,
flog
yeah.
you. So
Oh yeah, they totally made me do a like an English American English versus UK English. Okay, so funny side story. I don't want to drag this onto it.
No,
but
go for it.
For all of high school and like well into my 20s, I actually wrote in British English. Like I never wrote like OR. I always wrote OUR, and I did RE instead of ER. So people like in high school, I got trouble the first time I went to college. My teachers used to give me something like, "You're American. Stop writing, color COLOUR." And I'm like, I write in British English. And so I used to write strictly in British English from like the age of 14 to like 25, 26. And then finally I just started not doing it because people just kept giving me crap. They're like, "Why do you write in British English?" And I'm like, I just like the way it looks better.
that is actually it is better to do that way.
You like wasting time by adding extra
And extra
letters?
letters. Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Solidarity, Kurt. I still write favorite with a U.
Yep. I literally got in a shouting match with my college composition teacher. I was like, no. I go, it's still English. English is English. Just because it's not American English doesn't mean it's not English. So stop fucking cutting points off my papers for not spelling
Listen,
it the way you
George
want it.
Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Constitution so that we didn't have to speak this.
Yeah, but he still used a U in it though.
Yeah, he just put U's all over the place in there.
Yeah, no.
Little
Constitution
did
spelled
we
with
know.
6 U's, man.
6 U's?
Constitution.
Well, since he said George Jefferson, and George Jefferson is from moving up on the east side.
Yes,
I
I
think we
know.
can just,
That's exactly why I said it, because Thomas Jefferson, George Washington. Even though
Yeah.
George Washington had nothing to do with the document,
we
Jefferson
can just
wrote
move
the
on.
Declaration of Independence. Hamilton wrote the
What about Jane's Week? Let's talk
Constitution.
about Jane's Week.
Yeah, I was about to do that. Hold on. Let's get back. Kurt, you want to segue, Jane?
Jane, how we doing?
I'm good over here. I got a couple projects working simultaneously. I'm very close to having like my first 500 point Space Marine force, completed. I probably already have 500 points of Marines, but this is like the first one that I planned for, so that's exciting. I've also slowly been chipping away at the Drukhari that I got from that Piety and Pain box. I also assembled the Incubi that I picked up a Blood of the Phoenix on eBay for relatively cheap. So I got that going. But my big painting project right now, I'm actually taking a little break from GW minis, and I've been working on a Wonder Woman from Night Models as a gift for my wife, partly for tolerating all of the hours that I spend holed up in this room painting tiny figures. And it's actually been really interesting working on another company's models. This is the first miniature I've painted that is not GW. And I ended up, I got it secondhand, and it was already assembled, so that was kind of a bummer. But it's resin, so just
Not really a bummer. You dodged a bullet having to assemble resin.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would have liked to have done it because, like, after I primed it, I noticed some mold lines that I couldn't really get to. So, that was a bummer, but hopefully they won't show up too much on the finished model. But it's just interesting, it's got this really cool billowing cape that looks awesome, which is significantly more interesting than some of the capes that I've seen on my various Marines. But other parts of it are less good. The proportions are a little wonky, which, partly is, probably just because of the, the hero scale of it. But like one of her calves is like super swole and the other one is a little bit smaller. It's just interesting, seeing the different standards and stuff. And her face is tiny. So that's going to be fun to get to when I get there. But that's been my most pressing project this week is my tiny Wonder Woman from Night Models.
And I've seen the pictures. It looks really good.
Thanks, man.
What you're doing so far. Anybody gonna intro me?
Oh, yeah. I got confused because usually we only have 3. And I was like, well, we had 3 people talking. Mike, what have you been working on this week?
So this past week, I've been continuing to move my hobbying stuff from one floor of my house to another floor of my house. I've also been painting. I finished my Death Company, and I was really happy with that. I may have mentioned that last podcast that I was working on them, but I finally finished the 10-man squad of Death Company, and I'm super happy with how they came out. Right now I'm working on the captain, but he's pewter, so there's just some stuff that I have to work around with. I learned that once you get your primed coat on, make sure it dries all the way, and then do a quick alternating spray of varnishes. So you do like a gloss coat and then a matte coat and then a gloss coat and then another matte coat, and then that should seal in the primer. And so far, actually, since I've done that, I haven't noticed the paint chipping as easily, so that's something to consider for pewter. Other than that, it's been very similar to working with plastic after I added those coats, but before that there was a lot of definite chipping. I had to touch up his shoulder, his head, a whole bunch of spots on him just chipped off, because that's what happens with pewter. So that's going to be my project this week, is to finish that captain, and then I'll have my Death Company just rearing to go, and then I'll move on to my Librarian Dreadnought, I think.
I mean, from the pictures, they look amazing.
Oh, thank you.
They look absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I had this idea that, Death Company, they paint their armor black when they become enraged, so that there'd be a peaking of red underneath it. So what I did with them is I dry brush Mephiston red over a black prime coat, over the Zenithal highlight, actually. And then I just, this time it was a lot better because I didn't use a paintbrush. I used my airbrush, and I airbrushed on Dark Tone from Army Painter, and just kind of got it all really washed down to black, and you still see the red kind of peeking through in the highlight areas. It's a really cool effect.
That's really cool. Oh man, I'm here. I'm take a peek.
Oh yeah, we can take a peek after we're done recording. Sure.
I want to see them IRL.
Yeah, and I can show you what I've been doing in the basement too.
Oh yeah,
getting that whole place ready to do something with.
Yeah, I mean, the guard stands ready to
be slaughtered by my blood angels.
Absolutely massacred. I refuse to play guard correctly. I am just going to send a bunch of men with flashlights to fight your blood angels.
There's no correct way to play guard.
Yeah, I was about to say, that seems very in keeping with the guard spirit.
There are incorrect ways to play guard, and that is not having Ogren. God damn it, get more metahumans or whatever they're called.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, that's a good point.
Mast, laser, fire, and heavy artillery are your friend.
Yeah, I mean, the next thing I want to get for the guard is the, well, I guess this is the moving ahead, but
no, this is part of this. Go ahead.
Is an Earthshakers, because artillery go kaboom, but also because I feel like it'd be useful to really just sit in the corner of the map and just go pew pew at anything that moves far away. So
I mean, that's basically the what the strategy for whirlwind tanks are right now.
Is it really?
Yeah, you literally just park it where no one can hit it, and then you use the suppressing fire stratagem every game, and it can just launch to wherever the frick you want it to hit on the map. And it's great. And then if it hits them and you use the stratagem, they're suppressed and they can't overwatch or charge.
Yeah, and they just probably end up firing it into my own guys just because it'd be more
more fitting.
It'd be more fitting, yeah.
I just imagine your army is 90% commissars that have no one else to kill.
Basically. Yeah, but it's mostly because I'm the commissar and I'm just playing it like it's we're in 1942, it's Stalingrad, and I am the Soviet army. I'm just when the man in front of you dies, you pick up the las gun and you charge the heretic. So.
You charge the orc.
I mean, again, from what I know of guard lore, that sounds correct.
and it's right to be, because that's how you should fight battles. I am a military genius.
To be honest, the Empire does have more money than the Soviets, so actually every guardsman does have weapons. But yes,
Yeah.
Yeah,
What I
but I
wanna
mean,
see
we're
is a
talking
return
about
of the
las
penal
guns.
Yeah.
las guns are great though.
No, they're not. They
No,
suck.
they're
Lore-wise, they suck. Like, even in the lore, they suck. That's the whole point. Is they're just like the
so many of
regular.
them.
So like a las cannon is awesome.
Yeah, las
a
cannon.
las gun sucks. Like, they're little pew pew lasers.
Yeah, like in a lot of the novels and lore, they actually like slice through tanks. But whatever.
No,
this is-
in lore, las cannons slice through tanks. Las guns
yes.
bounce off of the shielding.
No, but even in like some of the Gaunt's ghosts, there will be like this.
Gaunt's- Let's not
Yeah.
even get with like Gaunt's ghosts or Caiaphas Cain, because all of that is over exaggerated.
You don't
stories
like
of war.
You don't
They
like a good Mary Sue.
That's imperial
Those aren't-
propaganda. Imperial
Yeah,
propaganda.
that's totally imperial
No.
propaganda.
No,
This is
the Gaunt's ghosts are using the hot las rifles that are like overcharged, which yes, blow holes through anything.
Yeah, those are special las rifles, though. They're not the regular las guns.
No, I just remember because I thought of this whole. I just recently reread those books. So there's a bit where like they're fighting the forces of Coas, and there's like a I think it's just like a champion Chaos Space Marine, and like they are able to kill it with just like peppering it with their like clap on clap off flashlights, and it's just like, and reading it and like knowing like knowing more about how the game plays and just being like, that's not how that works.
Well, the way
The
the
rules
guard
don't
works,
support the narrative,
Oh no,
no,
but the narrative
way,
is that it's supposed to eat through armor.
the way that it was explained to me via the lore was that the las guns of the guard individually mean nothing. They are the worst guns. They do hardly any damage. They bounce off of most any armor. However, because it's the Imperial Guard, you're not dealing with one las gun. You're dealing with 10,000 las
Yeah.
guns.
Yes.
So that's
why-
where they become powerful.
Which is why at the start of this I said massed laser fire plus artillery.
mass laser
Massed.
fire. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
You got 30 guys with a laser hitting troops are just slicing them in half. Yes.
I mean,
That and I miss penal troops. Penal troops were the best. Because that's basically they just take a freaking prisoner, slap like 30 pounds of dynamite to his chest, and make him run across the field and blow him up. And that's the best.
That's brutal.
it's so
Yeah.
great.
Those are like the Uruk-hai berserkers in the Lord of the
Yeah.
Rings
Oh,
tabletop game.
Yeah.
It functions very similar to that. You can do that with them. You can strap one of those big
And-
bombs to them, and they can run up to the wall of Helm's Deep.
And then,
and
well, I mean, sometimes what they do with the penal troops is they do give them like knives or like a pistol, and they say that
Yeah.
if they go out there and kill enough people with the knife and the pistol, that they'll turn off the vest so they don't explode. So, and then
but they never
like
turn
every
off
time.
the vest.
Well, no, they do because I mean, it depends. Like the few that survive, what they do is every time the ones that survive, they take like 5 years off their prison sentence and then send them out to the next battle.
That's so rude.
But yeah, the old penal legion was like the best. I mean, it's horrible, but it's awesome.
Lest we forget that there are no good guys in 40K.
Yeah.
Well,
So is
the,
it-
the one
so-
time they invented good guys, they changed them to make them bad guys. So
Yeah.
yeah, because
Yeah.
people are idiots. Yeah.
So now that we're talking about the shortcomings of the Imperium, I figured we can move on to fails and wins of the week.
Are you gonna make it a manly voice this time?
I don't know. I might chipmunk it again. I might make it really echoey. Who knows?
I think you should do something different every time.
That's yeah. That's my
Keep them on their toes.
tippy toes. We're gonna start with our fails, and then we'll move into wins. Is everybody okay with that?
Okay.
All right. So we're gonna start with Jane first. What is your fail for the week?
All right. Well, my fail for the week involves Wonder Woman, and Mike, you were saying I was lucky that I didn't have to assemble it, but here's the thing. I put a little too much pressure on it and her leg snapped off, so I did have to assemble it, in a manner of speaking. Just, all part of the learning curve. No permanent damage done, but I felt like a dummy.
Now, when you put it together, obviously, like we've had discussions about glues. You used CA/super glue.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, and it worked for you well.
Yeah. I mean, it worked well enough. I haven't had any further mishaps. I've also been much more careful about where I'm putting pressure on it. So I think that was a good move.
Sometimes the stuff they use because those models are usually like 3D printed. They're resin from a 3D printer, not a mold. And the agent they use to like cure it or release it from whatever their bits that are holding them onto can repel glue sometimes. So I'm glad that it worked for you and that you didn't run into the same issue that I did with my cheap resin Nightbringer.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do think I don't know anything about Knight models besides that, they exist. I don't know anything about their manufacturing practices or, I mean, it seems like they might be based in Spain. So, those are the two things I know about them is that they exist and they are in a place. But
well, three things. You know that they exist, that they are in a place, and that they exist in a place.
Oh, that's true.
Hypothetically.
That's true. But what I was going to say is I definitely have seen a couple of mold lines on this model, so I think maybe it did in fact come from a mold, but since I didn't put it together myself, who knows?
I'm just glad to hear that you didn't run into any random problems with the resin.
Yeah. I was going to say, I know that's a trauma point for you.
Very much so. I'm also glad to hear that you were able to fix it with, relative ease and that it's working for you.
Yeah. And then my win for the week, I am getting more confident with my airbrush, both in terms of, general maintenance and application and thinning of paints. I had an issue when I was attempting some zenithaling last week. I bought a bottle of Liquitex ink on the recommendation of some other people in our painting group, and I was still having a lot of trouble getting it to spray properly. So I went and did another deep airbrush clean and pulled out a chunk of something, and that solved that problem. And then my Dracari painting scheme, I've been trying to put this together with an eye for speed. So I did the first layer on them. Most of what I'm going to be doing with them is airbrush, then I'll go back in to pick out details like flesh and weapons and, metallic bits. But I was really happy with the consistency of the paint that I was able to get and maintain, and I had really hardly any issues spraying a nice dark purple base coat on my... How many models are over there? Somewhere in the neighborhood of 20, and then the Venom, so, I'm feeling good. Just taking it slow and learning a little bit by week.
That's so cool, though. No, that is just so cool. I'm so excited to see what they look like. But yeah, sorry.
Let's get Chris with his fails and win.
Oh, so I'm gonna be a troublesome guest and reverse it. I'm gonna do the win first because it leads into the fail.
That's fine.
So at the top, I said I'm a teacher at the local elementary school, so I do a lot of after school programs with some of the kids, and I have this one kid who has fallen head over heels in love with this game. Just loves the painting, loves like just the gameplay of it, the lore of it. I've been playing 20 questions like at the end of the day when like he's waiting for to be picked up from his from school, of just being like, well, what's that? Who's the emperor? What's an orc? Who's a mork? And just like just question after question, and I'm just sitting there on like the Lexicarum wiki being like, I don't know what any of this means. I'm just trying to find an answer that makes sense for him. So yesterday I was actually able to sit down and start kind of a mini game with him and start really teach him more of the finite rules, which was it was fun because I'm still learning the game too. So it was a chance for me to like see if I even know what I'm doing. And then also I find that I learn better by also explaining it to people. So it was nice to like learn and go. But in comes the fail where his army is orcs, but he really likes all the vehicles the Astra Militarum has. So he went out and bought the Valkyrie for the Astra Militarum as his second model to paint, which I told him to not do and just slow his roll and finish painting his like orc boys. But now I have a semi-frustrated parent emailing me, be like, "Why did you tell my son to buy this?" Well, I'm like, "No, I told your son not to buy this. Like, please don't buy this. I told the game store not to sell it to him."
Just to put an aside in there, I talked 20 minutes telling this kid not to buy the Valkyrie, and told his mother not to buy the Valkyrie. And she's like, it's his money. He can do what he wants. And said, don't do it. It's really hard to do. And she turned around and looked at the kid and went, it's really hard to do? Do you sure you want to do it? And he's like, it's my money. I do what I want. And she's like, it's his money. He does what he wants. And I'm like, okay. But I spent 20 minutes trying to talk that kid out of buying.
He's a great kid.
He's a good kid.
He's such a spitfire. But like, yeah, now, so he's been trying to paint this Valkyrie. I ended up having to buy him primer because he didn't believe in primer.
Oh,
but because he's an elementary student. So like his thought process is like, I assemble it, I sniff the glue, I then paint and I stiff the paint, and then it looks good. And so,
well, the paint's non-toxic, so you're not getting anywhere with that. But the other thing is that like, why wouldn't a young lad want to play with a spray paint can?
Well, I bought him a like cheap like liquid like a liquid primer that was just online. It was like $5 or something.
Yeah, you can literally use Rust-Oleum primer that is $6 a can.
But I'm not
and
buying.
It works just as fine as the.
Well, yeah, but I cannot buy and then bring to my job, which is surrounded by small children, an aerosol can to give to a like 10-year-old. Here, Billy, here's an aerosol can. Don't tell anyone, because that's how I get the cops called on me. Yeah, I had to find because I was thinking that I'm like, I told them like I told the parents like, I know he's really into this. I need this, and they're like, oh, we'll get to it. And then he comes in with this Valkyrie that he's just slathered paint straight onto bare sprue. I'm like, oh no. So I've been trying to like help guide him into like how to build it, how to paint it, even just like how to put primer on. So it's been the first half of this week has been it's been a body horror show of this poor Valkyrie.
He'll get a lesson in it when the paint just starts falling off.
Oh, he's already gotten that because he's painted like half a squad of boys, and like I pick it up and just it flakes off. I'm like,
also sounds like he's not thinning his paints either.
No,
that's fine.
No, I mean,
I didn't.
To be fair, he is literally a child, and what he does paint looks fantastic, but it is still just like it's an uphill battle of me continuing my uphill battle of being a teacher.
I would love for you to share pictures of your kids' minis in the Discord as well, just because that's also part of the whole thing. You know, obviously they're not going to be at even like any of our calibers. They're kids, but it's still nice to see kids getting involved in a good hobby that just, it's fun. It's productive. You do stuff like you're actually making something. Yeah. It's nice.
Yeah. I mean, it's also just funny because like, I'm just trying to tell this child, you're playing with your toys wrong. This is how you do it.
It's like a gatekeeping
Well, yeah,
adult.
when you put it that way, you sound like a jerk.
Well, I mean, I am. I have to be. I'm his teacher, so it's this whole week. It's just been like, please, small child. A, don't put the glue that close to your nose. I know you like the smell of it, but it's gonna hurt you longer in the long run. And B, please prime your stuff. Please. It hurts. It physically pains me to see you trying to paint it without priming it. That's my fail in the win for the past week.
I mean, it sounds to me like, to get technical, that was a parent fail. You're doing your best here.
True. Yeah. I am working with the tools I have. It's just that I feel bad because this is the same. I had this kid's older sibling, who I then got into Magic. So this poor family bleeds from their elder sibling playing Magic the Gathering, and now their younger sibling playing Warhammer. And so I was speaking to the father, and I'm like, I am so sorry for bringing this scourge upon your household.
Well, I bet the father, because in terms of finances, was probably like, why couldn't you be like your older brother and just play freaking Magic?
Yeah, seriously.
It's so much more expensive. But really, Magic is nice and all, but you're not building any sort of skill with it. You don't learn to assemble things. You don't get the fine motor skill training you are when you're painting.
Okay.
You don't learn a skill of painting.
Yeah,
it's more productive. It is a better hobby. I'm not gonna say Magic's a bad hobby. I'm just saying in terms of things to do with your time, at least Warhammer gives you something productive to do when you're alone. Magic is very dependent on having a second player, and you could deck build alone and all that crap, but come on.
You've heard it here first. Am Games is a anti-Magic podcast.
I didn't say that.
You're inviting hate mail.
I didn't say that.
I am here now to stoke the flame wars.
I personally have a love-hate relationship with Magic the Gathering, but I'm not gonna tell anybody not to play it. I'm just saying, for a child, learning fine motor skills in painting is much better than just playing with cardboard cards. That's what I'm trying to say out of this.
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree. It's still just fun. Step back and look at the carnage I've caused this poor family.
Oh yeah,
very funny. Well, at least Cave is making some stuff out of it.
Yeah, you're welcome, Kurt.
Hey, it keeps me employed.
Yeah.
But I did try to talk him out of it, I swear.
I appreciate it.
I was like, more orcs, man. Now I'm going to make this all orcified.
He's laid out, admittedly, he is laid out in child's drawing of what he plans to do, but it's nothing crazy. He has an entire backstory of why this Valkyrie is the way it is. He really loves this idea of this Valkyrie being captured from a leftover guard stockpile, and then the orcs being like, I can make that fly. And so he's
more DACA.
All they have to do is believe that it flies, and it will.
And I said that to him. He's like, "Yeah, this is great." So I love the orcs.
I like this kid. I like this kid a lot.
Yeah, he's so into it. So
because orcs are all about kit bashing.
Oh yeah, no,
that's all that army is. So it's wonderful that he is taking this Valkyrie, this project that is totally really not for him right now.
Yeah,
skill level and army. And just making it his own, and I love to hear that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping
you gotta admire that ambition.
To be an elementary student with $100 to burn and ambition in your eyes, things you can do.
Yeah.
So let's go to Kurt for his fails and wins.
All right, so since it's actually been 2 weeks between recording, so my fails are it's two half fails making a whole fail, which is basically I usually end up talking about role playing because that's what I do every week, guaranteed. Except for in the case of 2 games. So last Tuesday, or I don't know if I should put days so that whatever. I have a Tuesday game and a Saturday game, as I've talked about in multiple podcasts already. So my last Tuesday game, we had 2 players get sick. One was traveling, one was sick, so that game got canceled, so that's half a fail. And on my Saturday game, we've gone past epic level, we've maxed out, we've hit 20th level in 5e, and there's nothing after that other than some optional rules. For every 35,000 experience points you gain a boon or a feat, and we've been playing with that. And pretty much the DM is this really isn't as fun anymore, and so that game is slowly winding down, and we're at the point now where he is actively starting to plan for the next session. So I have a game that missed, and I have another game that's pretty much in its death throes ending. But I do have a win of the week. The win of the week is this Tuesday, the game that was canceled actually happened. So I have a funny little story that I call a win. We were still down one of the 2 players that missed the previous week, but we had the sick one back. So right now this is the game I mentioned before, where we're all monster hunters in a world where people hate us. When we show up and we kill monsters, they love us, but then once the monsters are dead, they want to throw you out of their village because they're afraid you're gonna take their daughters or become warlord or do something crazy. So we're traveling between towns, and pretty much if you're sleeping outdoors, normal people just die because nighttime is absolutely just the worst, and we're all low-level characters. So we survived a horrible feral vampire attack. To the next day, there was a bunch of birds singing, and when we got closer, it turned out to be 2 harpies. And these 2 harpies tried to charm the whole party, and everyone in the group basically made their saves and went, no. But one of our players is playing an Owlfolk, which is a new race they just introduced in the Unearthed Arcana online, which is online playtest material. He basically flew up there. So he's an owl. He flew up to the Harpies, who are half owl, half women, said that they were rude. They said, oh, we were just trying to charm you and call you over because you're just, you're strong, virile men. And then he spent half an hour hitting on these two Harpy chicks. So it was kind of amusing to have this owl folk up in the trees with these half naked bird women just chit chatting about, maybe if like they exchanged names and like he'd hit him back later type of stuff. And it was really hilarious to basically have him back from sickness and up there chatting up these Harpy broads. I guess, I don't know. That was a win. It was fun.
I love that.
That was really funny.
Anytime a game goes in a weird role-playing direction that is not combat, I feel like is a great win.
That happens a lot with us because one of my main ways to play is to talk my way out of combat, but the DM specifically designed this world to basically stop me from role-playing and having fun. No, like literally, because I think I mentioned it in another podcast. I don't know if I'm repeating myself. I apologize. I've made a career out of making my enemies fight each other and kill each other instead of me having to fight them. Or making them like go off to do something, and while they're going off to do something, I like rob their house and get out. That's what I do. I talk my way out of a lot of situations. Pretty much, the DM said oh yeah, if you talk your way out of fights, or if you make a villain go after another villain, you get no XP for that. So that's not happening anymore. So I was like, so basically, you made a rule where I can't role play like I normally role play, and he's like, well, do something different. We've been playing for 20 something years. Do something different. And I'm like, all right. But we did actually get XP for talking our way past the Harpies because it was just a bunch of hitting on each other for 5 minutes and then we moved on. So we did get XP for that encounter, and he was kind of perplexed at how it went. But yeah.
I was really enjoying the mental image of the rest of this band of Witcher style monster hunters just sitting at the foot of the tree being is he still up there, and looking up, and Owl's just sweet talking the two Harpies, and then them throwing rocks at them, be we gotta get going, just trying to hit him out of the tree.
Oh yeah, we are definitely hardened dudes too. I'm playing a character who he's part Doc Holliday, part Van Helsing, and then he's a Shadow Kai, so he's a shadow elf. So he's basically take Corvus Corax, we were talking earlier, that emo, white skinned, dark haired individual. And that's my character, all dressed up and half dead.
You making fun of me?
No. The character who is missing this week is this giant dragonborn barbarian who's going feral. So when he rages, he becomes more draconic, his scales grow out, he gets bulkier, and he becomes more feral. The third player is based on a fallen angel. He based himself, he's a fallen Azamar who is a sorcerer paladin who's not broken his oath, but he's an oath of vengeance. So his character is based on a mixture of Castiel and Crowley from Supernatural. So he's disheveled and smokes and drinks and hasn't shaved in weeks, and he's just moody. And then we have an owl who is looks almost like the Talons from Batman, who are assassins, and his whole thing is he's an urban ranger who tracks people and takes out targets. He's an ambush predator. So half the time he's swoop in, kill a bunch of people and run away, and then these chicks show up and he's all hey, I've been preening my feathers and how you doing? It was yeah, we're all just disreputable people, because we all travel the world fighting monsters and no one likes us, so that's what we are.
That's so rad.
It sounds like a really fun party and a fun campaign.
Yeah,
it is so far. I mean, we're only 4 or 5 games into it. We literally just started, so we're still feeling out our characters. But Mike, so what about your failing win of the week?
So actually, I've been sitting here trying to think of a fail related to hobbying. I don't really have one for this past week. I think my major fail would be issues that have been popping up with the editing and creation and production of this podcast. But
counts.
none of them are major or serious enough to really get into. It's just mundane crap. But I do have a win, and that is my Death Company captain's face. I tried some experimental stuff this this past time with this model, because I'm not very good at painting faces because I don't have that much experience doing it. Most of my models have helmets or something like that on them. So I painted up this guy's face. It wasn't looking so great when I first did the wash and the highlight and everything. Then I was looking at it the next day and it looks pretty damn good the way it all dried. So I got to chalk that up to a win of just like kind of throwing whatever I could at this face to see what would work, and then it actually working out in the end. Usually washes tend to get darker over time, but for some reason that's not the case this time. He lightened back up and he looks great.
I love it when the paint gods stare down on you and just be like, I bequeath you.
I give you some leniency this week. With that said, we're going to move on to our ongoing segment of product endorsements. Not sponsored. And we're going to throw it over to Chris because he's our guest. We want to have him give us his product endorsement. Not sponsored.
Well, to not sponsor, but sponsor, but not sponsor a product. So as I said, I'm playing Imperial Guard, and up until their announcement, I want to say like a few weeks ago, of the new heads so you can have female guardsmen, because I'm really tired of looking at the same 6 mugs when I paint the guard. I've been going to like a third-party bit site, Victoria Miniatures. I think I'm saying that right. But they just like, because they have such good clean models, they have such cool models. So I ended up so like recently I wanted to get like a little more give a more like lively look to my guard. So I got them like they had like backpacks for sale on the site. So they had like these different types of like canteens and just little like accessories and knickknacks and stuff to really just give a flavor that, you know, these aren't just the copy and paste of the same 5 guardsmen over and over again. But with it, I also got this really nifty drummer girl in like full dress uniform playing the drums. So I have her. She looks so not fitting in with. Or not to say that, but she looks, compared to like everyone else is carrying like las guns and like sneering, ready to fight the Xenos, and she's just happily like wailing away on her drums. So I have a company command unit that I want to try to like insert her in as like just like fluff, like, oh, you can. She doesn't do anything, but like there's the company colors, and you have someone drumming your way into war, just like, because the guard is just, you know, 18th century British military. So been real happy with those miniatures because it really livens up and just makes my guard army feel more human and archaic, which is kind of what I love about the guard.
Out of all the Astra Militarum in the world, yours was the most human.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Yeah, no, I've been really enjoying just their fun little miniatures and how they really just, you know, just a little spice into the recipe that is the Imperial Guard. So
that kind of brings up our like a topic that we kind of wanted to talk about a little bit, is third-party bits or, you know, kit bashing in that aspect. You know, for Space Marines and for a couple other armies, and like Cromlech makes some good ones. I go to bitsofwar.com. They have a couple of different companies. I think they do Cromlech and one other company, probably their own. But third-party bits definitely help liven up a lot of these models that, you know, you're making a lot of these troops, and each of the GW kits, it's all going to start to look very similar.
Oh, yeah.
So it's nice to touch stuff up with your own.
And I think especially with my guard, because they are so human, I like, part of the reason I like painting Cadians is that they just look like the little green army troopers everyone played with when they were itty bitty. I really like that, but I also don't like how when you have them all lined up with just the straight GW stuff, they are just generic little army troopers. So I like giving them the little bits of like humanizing elements. So I've been trying to paint like I don't know, little things on the armor and stuff, but these bits I've been getting from Victoria's Miniatures have been adding to it without me having to like try to paint like, I don't know, like a death's head on like freehand onto a guard's helmet, and then just like fat thumb smudging it, and then like sitting there going, that was half an hour's worth of work gone. So it's been helping me do that without raising my like stress levels. So
yeah, I got a couple Cromlech upgrades for some of my guys, but especially their Whirlwind upgrade for the Rhinos, because it's way cheaper than buying a new Whirlwind tank. So, and with that, we're going to conclude this week's episode. Thank you very much for listening. You can find all of our links in any sort of descriptions below.
Well, thanks for having me on also.
Yeah, I was about to say. And thanks, Chris, for coming on. Thank you for showing up, being here, and
It's always fun to have a guest.
chit-chatting with us. Yeah.
Yay, guest. Oh, yay, jubilation. Yeah, I had to pause my game of Battlefield 1 for this. So you're lucky.
I don't know what to say to that.
Mike looks like he's about to murder me.
No, I didn't look. No, that was more of a look like I just died a little inside.
Same thing.
Well, the important thing is somebody is dying here today.
Yes, as is the blood ritual we enacted when we first sat down. One of us must perish, and that is why I was brought on board. So
We
good
have
night
to make a
and goodbye.
sacrifice to the podcast gods, yes.
That's right.
Praise the sanguinor.
It's how we keep the lubricated wheels running of the podcast machine.
I mean, how
Media
else are we
must
going
be
to get a
appeased.
sponsorship from Casper if we don't kill somebody?
Yeah.
I need a new mattress. That would help.
Yeah.
I need a new mattress, too.
Are we talking about Casper mattresses or the Friendly Ghost?
Why
I'm
not
talking
both?
about I need a bed, yeah.
Oh, I always thought they were the same.
Oh, they are.
Why do you think mattresses are white?
Oh,
They're
that's
made out of dead people.
They're made of
Yeah.
ghosts.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bye, 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 bye.